Introduction. Volume 21 opens in Milishan, where Rudius has come with his family to reconnect Zenith with her side of the family. The holy city looks peaceful, but the visit quickly carries a heavy emotional weight. Rudius is not here for politics or adventure. He wants Zenith to meet her relatives, and he hopes the visit might gently heal some of the pain left behind by the labyrinth incident. At the temporary home, where they are staying, the family tries to settle in and act calm. Lara is present too, and her existence quietly changes the mood of every conversation. The Latria family estate stands like the center of the problem. It is beautiful from the outside, but Rudius can already feel that meeting Zenith's mother will not be simple. Before the conflict truly begins, Rudius spends a moment thinking alone. He knows this visit is about family, but he can already sense that Millie's is going to test his patience and his heart. Event 1. At the Latria Manor, Claire Latria receives Rudius in a cold and rigid way. She sees herself as the one who knows what is best for Zenith, and she has little respect for how Rudius lives. Claire's focus quickly shifts to Lara and Zenith. Her behavior makes it clear that she views both of them as matters the Latria family should control, not simply people whose wishes should be respected. A tense family gathering follows, and the table becomes a battlefield of manners, blood ties, and old authority. Rudius can tell that everyone is speaking carefully, but no one is truly at ease. When Rudius leaves the manor, his mood is already dark. Claire's attitude convinces him that this is not going to be a normal visit between relatives. Back at the house, the family feels the pressure of what just happened. No one can relax, because it is obvious Claire is not ready to let Zenith go. Event 2. That night, everything gets worse. Zenith suddenly disappears, and Rudius realizes in an instant that the conflict with the Latrias has turned into a crisis. Rudius rushes out with Aisha to search the city. He moves fast, but Aisha still keeps up with him and helps him think clearly while he fights panic. Their investigation leads them through taverns and rough corners of the district. They question locals, follow clues, and try to find the last person who was seen with Zenith. At last they find Geese, drinking and talking as if nothing is wrong. The sight of him only makes Rudius more suspicious and more furious. Rudius corners Geese with magic and forces the truth out of him. Geese explains that he handed Zenith over to a servant of the Latria family, which means the abduction was planned. Event 3. The next step is not a rescue by force, but a dangerous political move. Rudius goes to meet the Pope and explains that Zenith has been taken by the Latrias. Rudius is so angry that he even suggests kidnapping the blessed child in return. For once, his rage is completely open, and it shows how deeply Zenith's treatment has hurt him. Cliff tries to calm him down before he does something reckless. He reminds Rudius that anger alone will only make the situation worse. With no better path in sight, Rudius begins visiting the church garden. He is waiting for a chance to contact people who can help him reach the center of the problem. There he finally meets the blessed child and Therese. That meeting becomes the first hopeful turn in the whole Millie's incident. Event 4. Therese listens to Rudius seriously, not as a troublesome nephew, but as someone desperate to protect his mother. She agrees to speak with Claire and see whether the situation can still be solved peacefully. The blessed child also enters the picture. Surrounded by guards and church power, she seems fragile at first glance, but her presence carries a quiet authority. Rudius, Cliff, and Aisha then gather around a map to talk through their options. They need a plan that can break the Latria's hold without turning Milishan into a battlefield. Therese tries to open a line to Claire, but the family conflict is already too tangled for a simple apology. This is no longer just a quarrel between relatives. As evening falls, Rudius stands alone with the weight of the next decision. He realizes that if normal negotiation fails, he will have to overturn the board entirely. Event 5. Rudius chooses the boldest move available to him. He acts before the enemy can react and targets the blessed child, not out of cruelty, but because her power can reveal the truth. Using magic, he neutralizes the guards without killing them. The scene shows how frighteningly effective Rudius has become when he stops holding back. Once face to face with the blessed child, he explains why he needs her help. She understands far more than he expected and does not reject him. Rudius carries her away under the eyes of his companions. It is a reckless act on paper, but emotionally it is his only way to rescue Zenith and expose what the Latrias are hiding. Soon after, the church factions and the Latrias are forced into a direct confrontation. The game has changed, and no one can pretend the matter is private anymore. Event 6. A formal hearing begins, and the room fills with church leaders, nobles, and witnesses. What began as a family dispute now becomes a public judgment. The blessed child uses her power to read memories. By looking into people's eyes, she can pull hidden thoughts and buried truths into the open. The memories she reveals change the mood of the room. What seemed like a simple question of custody is exposed as a painful mix of control, fear, and distorted love. Rudius watches the revelations in silence, and even he starts to see parts of the situation differently. The truth does not excuse the harm, but it makes the emotions underneath it impossible to ignore. Around them, the crowd reacts with shock. Some are outraged, some are ashamed, and some are finally forced to admit what they refuse to see. Event 7. Zenith herself gives the strongest answer of all. Instead of speaking, she acts with a clarity that cuts through everyone else's arguments. She slaps Rudius, reminding him that even his anger was part of the chaos around her. In that instant he understands that his mother is not just someone to protect, but someone whose feelings still matter deeply. Zenith also slaps Carlyle, making it clear that he too failed to stop what was happening. The people around her can no longer hide behind excuses. Then she turns toward Claire. Rather than striking her, Zenith gently takes her face in both hands and looks into her eyes. Claire finally breaks down. Zenith's silent forgiveness hits harder than any punishment, and the entire room freezes around that moment of grief and love. Event 9. Claire comes to Rudius privately and asks to be punished. She is not looking for excuses anymore. She wants a judgment. Rudius refuses to answer hatred with cruelty. Instead, he speaks honestly and tells her what he really wants from her going forward. He asks Claire to step away from the demon expulsionists and to stop insulting the people he loves, especially his wives. This is less a revenge sentence than a demand for change. Claire bows her head and accepts his conditions. For the first time, she agrees to trust Rudius instead of trying to control everything herself. Their handshake closes the conflict. The reconciliation is not perfect, but it is real, and it gives Zenith's family a chance to move forward. Event 10. After the crisis, Rudius spends time with the people who helped him. He owes thanks to Cliff, Therese, the Pope, and the Blessed Child for helping bring the truth into the open. The Blessed Child, now free to speak more openly with him, becomes warmer and more human in Rudius's eyes. Their relationship shifts from political necessity to genuine trust. Rudius even gives her a guardian beast, an owl-like protector later named Nurse. It is a small act, but it symbolizes that she is gaining a future beyond being used as a tool. With the crisis settled, the family can finally sit together without open hostility. Zenith, Lara, and the others are surrounded by people instead of schemes. For a short while, Militian feels almost peaceful, but the story is not finished, because one traitor has already slipped out of reach. Event 11. Geese disappears before Rudius can truly settle the score. Search parties go out, but the man is far too clever and too used to surviving by instinct. The city keeps moving around the heroes, yet beneath the normal streets Rudius can feel a larger threat growing. Geese's escape means the human god still has a hand on the board. Rudius and his allies begin discussing the bigger picture. This is no longer just about a family matter in Millie's. It is about the coming war around Orsted and Hitagami. Important names and dangerous figures begin to surface in those discussions. The world outside this arc is shifting, and powerful warriors are already being drawn into the storm. The volume uses this section to turn the reader's eyes forward. The family conflict is resolved, but the next battle is already being prepared somewhere else. Event 12. The aftermath in Millie's also opens the door to new possibilities for the Blessed Child. She is no longer just the church's instrument. She now has her own hopes and a wider future. She reflects on strength, faith, and the people who inspired her. The image of great warriors and distant legends starts to matter to her in a personal way. Rudius's involvement changes the path of her life. Instead of waiting passively for fate, she begins to imagine what she herself wants to become. This part of the volume feels quieter than the courtroom drama, but it is still important. It shows that the rescue did not only save Zenith, it also changed the Blessed Child. By the end, there is a sense of dawn after a long night. Millie's is calmer, and some of its people are finally able to look toward tomorrow. Event 13. In the extra chapter, the Blessed Child becomes the focus directly. We see her in a more personal light, away from the role that politics forced onto her. A vision of a fearsome swordsman and memories of strength stir something in her. She begins to admire people who can act boldly instead of only enduring quietly. Her admiration for Eris especially stands out. Watching a powerful swordswoman makes the Blessed Child want to train her own body and become stronger in spirit. She spends time in prayer and reflection, but this is no longer the same stillness as before. It is the stillness of someone preparing to change. Looking over the city, she seems far less like a trapped shrine maiden and far more like a young woman whose future has finally opened. Event 14. Another extra chapter shifts to Therese and her family life. Claire, now acting much more like a normal mother, presses Therese to think seriously about marriage. Therese agrees to a meeting, only to discover that the candidate is someone she already knows in another identity. The whole scene turns awkward almost immediately. The formal setting, the tea, and the noble expectations only make the embarrassment worse. Therese tries to keep her composure, but the situation is hopelessly strange. The candidate refuses the idea and the meeting collapses in a mixture of logic, panic, and comedy. It is a welcome lighter chapter after the intensity of the main arc. Even so, the chapter quietly shows how much the Latria household has softened. They are still difficult people, but they now feel like a family that can laugh again. Event 15. The final extra chapter follows Geese on the road. Guided by Hidegami, he crosses dangerous lands while reflecting on how he has survived his whole life. Around the campfire and along the journey, Geese thinks back on his past and on why he keeps obeying the human god. He knows the relationship is ugly, but he still clings to it. Hidegami appears to him again and pushes him toward a new mission. Geese's role is no longer just to escape. Now he must gather allies for the war against Rudius and Orsted. In a frozen land, he finds a powerful swordsman beside the body of a slain dragon. Geese offers him something dangerous, a path toward the battle he wants. This extra chapter ends the volume on a dark note. While Rudius wins a family battle in Millie's, Hidegami's side is building an army for something far worse. Conclusion. Volume 21 begins as a painful family visit and ends as one of the series' strongest emotional reconciliations. Rudius saves Zenith not by brute force alone, but by forcing everyone to face the truth. Claire's defeat is not death or humiliation, but understanding. Zenith's silent compassion changes the entire shape of the conflict and gives the family a chance to heal. The volume also gives new importance to supporting characters like Therese, Cliff, Geese, and especially the blessed child. Each of them leaves the story changed, but Mushoku Tensei never stays quiet for long. In the background, Geese and Hidegami are already preparing the next stage of the conflict, and powerful new enemies are being drawn in. So Volume 21 closes with two feelings at once: relief for the family that was saved, and tension for the storm that is still approaching. It is a calm ending, but not a final piece.